Welcome into another edition of the Old North State Sports Show, folks. We have a jam-packed show today, as you can see on the screen. As I record this, the NFL Honors Show is going on right now. We got some news coming in related to the Hall of Fame. Two Panthers players, at least homegrown Panthers players, did not get in, and Steve Smith Sr. and Luke Kuechly. We're going to talk about it. We're also going to educate you on why Sterling Sharp got in and how this whole thing plays out, because I want you to be educated when you talk about this. That's part of the reason that I make this content, why I put in the effort that I do. We got the Hall of Fame. We're also going to talk about the Eagles and Chiefs a little bit. It's not going to be a preview, but it's a topic that a lot of folks have brought up this week, which is the Carolina Panthers were very close in both of those games. Now, very close doesn't mean a lot, but let's talk about what this means potentially for the future of the Panthers. Are they headed in the right direction? Then we got to talk about backup quarterbacks, folks. Who is going to be Bryce Young's quarterback? We're going to look at some available free agents. I will tell you who I would like, or at least a few guys that I would like, some folks that are probably off the table, free agency, or the draft. How should the Panthers address picking up another running back? We're going to look at who's available in free agency, as well as some potential draft picks. Hey, I always think there's an opportunity for the Panthers to improve every position on the roster, whether that means Miles Sanders is gone and we know Jonathan Brooks is not going to play. In Adam's last ride, ? We know we got confirmation that Adam was coming back last week unintentionally. On Panthers.com, there's an article how he didn't expect that to leak out because he was at a golf event. So it becomes a thing. He's actually coming back. He did confirm it with Panthers.com. Let's talk about what it means as the potential last ride for Adam Thielen and where he sits within the Panthers. It's a very short time, but where he sits within the Panthers' legacy of all-time pass catchers and wide receivers for this team. But without further ado, let's talk about the Hall of Fame. As I mentioned, Luke Kuechly, Steve Smith Sr. did not get in. And there may be some confusion. Number one, congrats to Jared Allen, Antonio Gates, and Sterling Sharp. So Eric Allen, Jared Allen, Antonio Gates were your modern era. Sterling Sharp was your senior era. So the selection committee may elect up to 5 modern era players. Each must receive a minimum positive vote of 80%. It's not rounded up. Remember, there's only 49 voters. I talked about this last night. If you hadn't had a chance, go back and listen to it. But we broke this down. We talked about how difficult it was going to be when you split up these votes. But you do get 3 into the class. The senior category has Maxie Bond, Sterling Sharp, Jim Trier, along with coach finalist Mike Holmgren and contributor finalist Ralph Hay. So those 5 were in their own category. So voting on those 5 is done separately as its own group. And then, of course, we have the modern era players. So I bring that up to say, I know some folks were immediately running online to say, hey, I can see Steve Smith Sr.'s stats compared to Sterling Sharp, and they're not even close. And I agree with that. Sterling Sharp was a really good football player, though. Like, let's not pretend. I know the stats aren't exactly the same to Steve Smith Sr., but he was a good football player. But I think this just means, hey, hopefully in the next year, I mean, I don't know how much longer you can keep Steve Smith Sr. out. And yes, we are partially biased, and I'm partially biased, having watched him played pretty much my entire life as a kid growing up and kind of looking back on him and who he was. Dude was a good football player. And also Luke Kuechly. I mean, prime Luke Kuechly, not a first ballot Hall of Famer. My question is there a potential for possibly Luke to get in over Steve Smith? I hope not. Let's just put them in both together. That would be my ideal situation. You have both guys going into the Hall of Fame together. Now, speaking of Hall of Fame, we know there is likely a Hall of Fame quarterback on the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. Carolina Panthers played them earlier this year, and they played one heck of a game against them, coming up short, we know, but 30-27, they had a chance, man. Took the lead late. You give Patrick Mahomes an opportunity in the ball, he's going to take advantage of it. Same thing with the Philadelphia Eagles. You're an Xavier Legette catch away of at least taking the lead. Who knows if you hold on to it? Similar situation to Kansas City. But how close are the Panthers? Not to a Super Bowl. Do not get me wrong. We're not here to talk about Super Bowls. Don't get it confused. But you have to feel good. Considering how bad people thought the Panthers were this year, like at different points in the season, earlier, laughingstock of the NFL, to see them be competitive and against both of these teams, one on the road, one at home with Kansas City, the future looks good. Now, year over year, I don't know how much that translates, but I do know when you're trying to establish a culture, trying to establish winning, those are the things that you need. And I know Dan Morgan even talked about wanting to recruit guys from colleges and programs that have won before. Like when you have that winning mentality or all you know is winning, it translates. It really does and makes a difference. So what does this mean in the grand scheme? I don't know. But the fact that the Panthers almost beat means nothing in the NFL. There's no moral victories, but the fact that they were competitive against the two teams in the Super Bowl should make you feel like if the Panthers can put together a somewhat competent defense this year, that they should at least be close to a playoff team competing in the NFC South. Like I fully believe we are at that point to start applying that pressure because like otherwise, what are we just going to sit back and say, well, 7 wins would be great, 8 wins? No, it's time to flip the switch on this team, on this organization. We've had enough losing, and it's okay to sit back and say, yeah, now's the year, and we need to see results. Get over the hump, get to 9, get into the playoffs. Maybe 10 would be great. Win the NFC South. Let's do it all. One go. So, talking about quarterback play, who is going to be Bryce Young's backup? I saw a rumor potentially that the Tennessee Titans may be interested in Andy Dalton as a backup, so it's always going to be on the table. But I said, you know what? Let's go and let's take a look at free agent options. There's always the possibility that they draft. But for the sake of today, let's look at who could come back. Now, Sam Darnold is off the table. I think Justin Fields is going to be off the table. Both, like Sam's just not going to come back here. Like, I don't think. You have to be a pretty wild man, crazy to want to come back here after everything. He's going to have an opportunity to go be a starter somewhere. A team that, I don't know, you look at Pittsburgh, wouldn't that be wild? We're getting way too ahead of ourselves. I'm predicting where he goes. If the New York Jets don't get their guy, lots of scenarios that can play out. If the Giants decide to invest in other positions outside of the quarterback through the draft, there's just a lot of questions. I know quarterbacks are going to be drafted, but Sam Darnold for me, like, where does he land? But I don't think it's here. I also think Justin Fields not on the table. I think he's going to be competing or try to compete for a starting job. I don't see him wanting to come here to be a backup. You got to get someone that is comfortable with like coming in and like saying, yeah, I'm going to be the backup. So, I mean, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, not enough experience in my opinion. The name that I'm circling right now is Jacoby Brissett. I really like Jacoby Brissett as a veteran backup presence. I don't know that I put Taylor Heineke up there. Marcus Mariota has been okay. I don't know that I'm putting him at the top of that. I think Jameis Winston also has to be on your list. And even Carson Wentz for me. Carson Wentz is only 32. You look at Andy Dalton, who's 37, close to 37. So I think there's always a chance. And you saw Mac Jones on there as well. Panthers are going to need a backup. So who is the backup going to be? We still got time to figure it out. I think, at least in this short term, they like the idea of a veteran that Bryce can lean into. But you know what? They may take the training wheels off. They may decide, you know what? This is Bryce Young's team. Not that it wasn't, but this is 100% Bryce Young's team, and we're just going to give him the keys. We're not going to have the reinforcements in there. I don't know that that's a good thing either way. Like, you could talk me into doing it this way versus the other way. Doesn't matter. But anyways, that's my initial take. I mean, we are very early, but we're into February. Free agency is going to be coming up in a month, and these things are just going to start unfolding right in front of our eyes. So I want to get you prepared on names to watch, who to look for the Carolina Panthers, and keeping that trend going. Let's talk about the running backs that are available. Now, this isn't everyone. These are a few that I picked out, and I don't think all these players are on the table. I mean, you look at Rico Dowdle's last year, fantastic season. I don't think he's in play. I think he's going to get paid. Clips over 1,000 yards. J.K. Dobbins, he's a good example. I know he had some injury issues. Baltimore goes to the Chargers with a team that likes to run the ball, gets 900 yards. And I think he got over 1,000, 905 yards rushing, 9 touchdowns, and 153 yards receiving. Having multiple backs is beneficial, having a back that can catch the ball. But you look at him as someone that maybe people wrote off. So I think there's an opportunity for someone that's kind of kicked to the curb that the Panthers could pick up. Now, part of this is assuming the Panthers decide to move on from Miles Sanders. That is always in the back of my mind. Like, I don't know how much they weigh the last game of the season. It feels like if he's back, they got to take a pay cut, or he's got to take a pay cut in order to be here. I just don't see it. Javonte Williams, and I'm biased, but I do like Javonte Williams. His production has dipped. I know he battled some injuries as well, but I do like Javonte Williams. But maybe free agency really isn't the move, and maybe some fans don't want to hear this. But there's always potential to draft another running back. Running back class is loaded. I mean, I feel like it is every year. You know, the story of Rico Dowdle going back here, he was an undrafted free agent, played at the University of South Carolina. You look at his production, like the first 2 or 3 years, 20 yards, no yards, like 100, and then he hits 1,000. So the talent can be found not only through the draft, but through undrafted free agents. Like, running back is a prime position when you have a really good offensive line, when you have a really good scheme, meshing those things together, you can plug and play with running backs. No doubt about it. And we've seen kind of the shelf life, the churn. Now, there's something to be said about having a Saquon Barkley-esque running back, or even a Derrick Henry and a Christian McCaffrey when he was healthy. Like, having that type of back is different. But at least if you're going to still have Chuba Hubbard, you're just looking for someone to pair with him. Ashton Genty, I just don't think he's in play. I am in favor of best available and really good football players. But for me, I don't see the Panthers, like, they can't waste a first-round pick. They need to get something, knowing that they could get something later. I also like Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina. Caleb Johnson, he was in my latest mock in the 3rd round. I don't know if he'll last that long. Quinshawn Judkins out of Ohio State. Cam Skattebo had a really good playoff performance, got on a lot of people's radars. Same thing with Trayvon Henderson. Trevor Etienne, brother of Travis Etienne. Damian Martinez, and I mean, there's a lot more. Running back is a position that, again, it's very easy to be able to plug and play and get your guys in. Now, closing out this episode, we've talked about Adam Thielen's return. He went on Panthers.com, confirmed it for everyone, which we know. Let's take a quick read at what he said. This is reported out there. I had said after the season, like, I just need 2 weeks to really think about it. Thielen said Thursday at the New Orleans Convention Center, after wrapping up an interview with Panthers legends Jake Delhomme and Jonathan Stewart. And then once I made that decision, I'm like, I'm going to do one more year. Then that's my mindset. And here we go. I didn't want to be wishy-washy, like maybe, maybe not. And so there you have it, man. And he goes on. I would recommend, if you haven't had a chance, go out there and read it. Goes into depth. But is this the last ride for Adam Thielen? It seems like it. He did hint. I know Darren Gant trying to, pull some stuff out of him at the end, talking about the potential for another year after this. And I mean, who knows? I've talked about his commitment, what he's put into this team. He's got a chance, and it's going to be difficult, but he's got a chance to etch his way up the board of all-time Panthers wide receivers. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be a Panthers great or legend, but this may surprise you. And I was looking at this. I was like, let's go pull the stats for Adam Thielen and take a look at where he sits in Panthers history. So you can see the list there, of course. Steve Smith Sr. at the top, Muhsin Muhammad, Greg Olsen, DJ Moore, Wesley Walls, Christian McCaffrey, Mark Carrier, Kelvin Benjamin. I'm going to stop reading. Adam Thielen is further down the list. He has 1,629 yards. Now, he was the team's leading receiver. There was a chance if he played that he probably had another 1,000. But I put 919 yards as the mark because if he is able to eclipse that, he would pass Mark Carrier, which would put him in 4th all-time in receiving yards for a wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers. That's just wild, man. 3 seasons. It also shows, I mean, we've known this, but the Panthers have just done a terrible job of drafting wide receivers. Steve Smith Sr., Muhsin Muhammad, I mean, they're kind of in the same group. And DJ Moore. That was your last good. And I've done a video on this. We talked about the Panthers not drafting well. But I think this just shows you exactly what it is. I mean, right there in front of our face. So 919 yards. Now, I don't think, again, that's putting a lot of pressure on him going into next year to potentially hit that. I don't think he's going to do it, but it's still going to be something fun to watch, and I'll be pulling for him to do it. I'm sure he'll get some bonuses, not for that, but for getting his yardage up. Anyways, folks, that is going to do it for today's episode. TBD on when we'll be back because news actually officially is slowing down now unless something comes through. Got some other stuff cooking up. I continue to cook it up. If you want to help me keep cooking, improve the microphone, improve the camera, all those things which are slowly in the works because we are officially upgrading the microphone in the next month, which will tie into the official relaunch of this show. And then we'll start just continuing. But anyways, please subscribe, comment, share. As always, this is Carolina Dad. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all have a good one.